Hey guys, it's Denise.
Hi, it's Elsa. Welcome
to Forever 30.
Yay! Today we're talking about everyone's favorite subject,
Suegras. Mother-in-laws. Monster-in-laws. I think that's nobody's favorite subject.
Yeah.
Actually, that's debatable.
People have more bad experiences than good, so I think that's why it's such a controversial topic.
Okay. Why do you think it's more bad experiences than good?
I think that people don't know how to set boundaries both ways. Like, the suegra doesn't know how to say, okay, hasta aquí llegué, and like that I did my job as a mom. Now I need to back off. And maybe nueras or yernos don't know how to say, hey, suegra, like,
back up,
step back, you know.
We got this. We're adults. Yeah, I think there's 1,000 reasons why, but todos van a salir ahorita.
Different experiences.
Yeah. My list. It's like, I think suegras are worse with their sons.
Yes.
I think maybe men do clash with suegras, but I think it's mostly women that clash with their suegras because they don't know how to back off. They don't know that their job is done. They don't know that their job was poorly done, and you need to back up now. And I think also las suegras have usually this unhealthy love with their sons.
That nobody can take better care of them.
Yes. Yeah. That nobody can take better care, or that, like, I'm still here. I'm still his number one. And I talked about it with Laura one time, and she said that sometimes suegras, if they're not fulfilled emotionally by their husbands or themselves, that they need that love from their son. And once they grow, that doesn't go away because they need help. But that's just to start off. That's just the start. Have you had any suegras that you like?
Yes. So I have a good and a bad. The bad one, it wasn't terrible, but it was my very first boyfriend. His mom was not very stable. Like, she had mental health issues. He and I started dating, and I had met his uncle, who played a dad role for him. And obviously he talked to me about his mom, but he lived with his uncle at the time. And I remember that we were hanging out, and all of a sudden someone's at the door, and they open the door, and it's his mom. And I can see in his face, he's just like not ready for the whole interaction. And I don't think he wasn't ready for me to meet his mom. It was more like he hadn't prepped me on what his mom was going to be like. He's like, hi mom, this is Daniela, she's my girlfriend. And go like this. And she just starts grabbing my hair, looking at it. And she's like, have you been to my house? You know how sometimes people say, my mom's crazy. And she's like, whatever, you know?
Oh, your mom's crazy.
And I was like, oh, like for real is crazy. Okay. And he's like, no, mom, she's never been to your house. And so I shook my head, no. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, I found a hair in my bed.
Por eso te estaba tomando el pelo.
She's like, y era güero. Y pues la señora es negrita. And so she's like, it's obviously not, me dice así, it's obviously not mine. And I'm like, oh, tampoco. Like, and he's like, mom, she's never been to her house. So that was my first interaction with her. And then I met her again many years later when he and I were not like officially together, but we were still kind of kicking it. And now we went to visit her at her house. It was the craziest thing to me, some of the things that she would say or do. And I remember it gave me a new love for him to know that
that's what he put
maybe
up with.
I didn't understand a lot of the things that he went through or the lifestyle he had. And that when I saw that, I was like, damn. To have a mom who's physically there, but she's
checked out,
not there, and she can't help you. And especially I think when you're becoming an adult and you're going through all these new things in life. And la señora never mistreated me, but never ever sat down and had a conversation with me or things like that.
You didn't feel welcomed.
No, I was always like, oh my God, I need to not touch anything or saying, ¿qué voy a decir? And she's going to trip out, you know? Where, like, obviously when he would come to my house, his interactions with my parents were completely different. And obviously, and eventually we went our separate ways. recently, I want to say maybe a year or two ago, we found each other, and he is at a completely different state. He's a dad now.
Let's say you would have ended up with him, knowing that she is the way that she is. Do you encourage a relationship between both of them?
I think I would encourage, yes, for him to advocate that she get help, but I know that's something he had done before. I think that if I saw it was hurting him, I would respect it if he wanted to distance himself, but not like completely never speak to her, more of like his check-ins, you know, here and there, because they're still our parents. But I would have to respect his journey and his relationship or lack thereof with his mom. That was my only bad experience with the suegra that I consider. I have 3 boyfriends. My second boyfriend, so my mom was really like, I met her once. He met my parents once. And then I had, well, the only lady I would really consider my suegra is Natalia's grandma. And she never mistreated me to this day. She never has. I think we view things very different sometimes, and therefore I know I hurt her feelings with some of the things I said and did. I did not mean to hurt her feelings, but I didn't watch my words, and I said things to her that were hurtful to her. La señora always minded her business, is the best way I can put it. Nunca se metió. Never.
Escuchen todas las suegras, por favor.
And I was so used to my mom being overly involved that me seeing her not really involved made me feel like she didn't care. And that was my own
interpretation of it.
Yes. And in the end, she really was trying to let us live our lives and not cause problems. And she figured if we needed her, we reach out. I felt like as a grandma, my mom no me pide permiso para ver a la niña. She's like, are you home? I'm coming over. La señora never did that. And again, like la confianza, all this stuff that I didn't think about back then when it was going on, I didn't give her grace. I took it as like she doesn't care about my kid.
Do you think it's because you were comparing?
1000%. 1000% comparing, not just to my mom, but her sisters. Because there's one of her sisters who super involved as a grandma and super involved in like, I thought like, how come she's not like her? You know, like, esa señora would reach out to us about Natalia or would come over, things like that, that I felt like, how come she isn't? And so during our relationship, we never had heart-to-hearts, I don't think, but we would talk about things. When I separated is when we had a heart-to-heart. And obviously, I was like in my own hurt. And I was just like, you never stepped in, never helped, never told your son he was wrong. You didn't step in to care for my daughter the way that my mom has, and that's disappointing. All these things that I said to her, I didn't yell at her or curse at her or insult her, but I hurt her feelings in the things that I was saying because I wasn't thinking of where she was coming from. And she told me, like, I was trying to stay out of the way. She was like, I was trying not to be a problem in your relationship. Obviously, he got mad because his mom's feelings were hurt, understandably so. Even though, like, I've given him a lot of grace when he's gone into it with my mom. Then it took a while for me to reflect on it and not take it personal and understand where she was coming from. And ya la veo and she, Happy Mother's Day, yo le mando Happy Mother's Day or Feliz Navidad or whatever. Or I always tell Natalia, have you called grandma to go see grandma? I now don't expect her to be the one reaching out to Natalia. I'm teaching Natalia to reach out to those you care for in your life. But we all show love different. We have our own experiences. And it took me a long time to understand and appreciate that and appreciate her. And I remember when we separated, we remained friends on Facebook, and I saw that she had added a girl that was from his past. Oh, yeah. And I took that very personal. It's like, this person hurt me. Why are you now cool with her? And that put a strain between us a lot. And then eventually I got over it because, pues ya que, you know, yeah, he's not mine. We've gone to lunch together as a family, like my family, his family, all of us together. And it's fine. Ahora nunca he tenido nada que decir de la señora. It's just that now I see things
differently.
Did
you ever feel the need to apologize for what you said?
I do feel the need to apologize, but I haven't. And I feel like...
Do you think it's pride, or do you think it's that you're not fully...
I want to do it in person. I would love to, like... But cuando nos hemos visto siempre ha sido, like, the wrong time.
Yeah.
Porque no nos vemos outside of, like, of that. I have considered like asking her if I could go over to her house and para que la visite la Natalia, but also have the opportunity. But I also don't want to overstep. Like, we're separated, you and I don't want to be going to your mom's house type of thing.
I don't think that would be wrong because I don't think it'd be the norm. It's not like every Friday.
It's not wrong for us, but I think he would be upset. I don't think that
that's
he wants
his
me.
problem. We're talking
I
about
have to
suegras.
deal
We're
with
not
him.
talking about Gustavo's problems. Because there's tons.
But yeah, I think she would be very reflective. And I mean, I could just send her a text or a voice message or give her a call. But I think that there's an importance sometimes in just being able to talk. Pero si yo le hablo a la señora, siempre me contesta de buena manera. I know she cares for me. She asks about my mom, to Natalia.
I think it takes balls for you to see the other way because it's easy for us only to see our perspective and say you were wrong because of A, B, and C. But it takes balls to be like, maybe I was wrong. Not that you were wrong, but maybe I didn't see things your way.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's probably from comparison of like comparing how she's being a grandma to your mom. But that sounds like the perfect suegra. No, it sounds to me perfect the fact that que te da tu espacio porque 99.9% de las suegras
and I get to see
they
my
don't
mom
know
be a
boundaries.
suegra. Yeah, and that's my mom. My mom has no boundaries. Okay, that's the type of suegra my mom is. And I was very like, así es como se hicieron las cosas en mi casa. This is the right way to do it. And if you're not doing it like this, and I was very like prideful and very like, this is how you do it. And if you're doing it outside of that, is wrong. And so that's where the conflict really, as
Very
far
democratic.
as like a suegra and as far as like a partner and a parent and a this and a grandma and this and this and that. And once I stepped out of the situation and looked at everything and saw what other people have gone through, my friends, my sisters-in-law with my mom. Because I could tell you my mom was a suegra. You know, my mom sat down with one of my brother's partners and she said something, la muchacha dijo something about like they don't get along, something. My mom goes, yeah, dos víboras no se pican. And
oh my God, I would clash so long with your mom as a suegra. As your mom, as a friend's mom, I'm like, eso señor.
Yeah.
Pero as a suegra,
I remember I was in Vegas. My very first Vegas trip as an adult with my friends. And his dad ruined the shit out of my trip. He broke up with me while I was on the trip. He was a really jealous person and didn't want me like out there. And I remember that I was having a hard time and my mom had called me to check in, like, how you doing? It's like your first Vegas trip with your friends by yourself. It's my last spring break of college. And she was like, oh my God. And I was like, Gustavo broke up with me, Mom. And she was like, what the like, why? What's going on? It's because I'm in Vegas. And like, he thinks I'm cheating. Blah, blah. And I had never experienced jealousy like that. So then my mom's like, yeah, try to enjoy yourself. My mom, tratando de darme aliento, she sent me a text. My mom sent that text to a group chat that Gustavo was in. She just found the first, because I was sending
because she's above 50 years old.
Yeah, I had sent him pictures, and my mom responds to that group chat as opposed to her and I saying, ya déjalo que chingue su, or whatever. And he's like, what's your mom talking about? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, is she talking about me? She wants you to leave me? And I was like, nope. And he's like, what is she talking about? I was like, I have no idea. I think I told him, I called her and she saw me drinking and she said, ya, deja de tomar. Something like that. He didn't fall for it. And mi mamá no quería que yo fuera novia de Gustavo from the beginning. Because I had a friend who would come over and we were very close and we would eat and hang out and he'd be like, oh my God, I went out with Gustavo last weekend. He was getting drunk, he was throwing up, and he was being a hoe, and he was doing this. And my mom's in the background listening. So then when my mom is like, you're spending a lot of time on the phone with him. Yeah, we're just catching up. And she's like, you better not dare date that guy. The guy that I've been hearing all these stories about. And my dad stepped in and he's like, give him a chance. Dad, why? I'm just kidding. My dad's like, you've never met him. Have him come to the house, hang out. And if we see that he's what all these stories say he is, then, but maybe. And so he knew how to win my parents over, for sure. He's a jokester, he's a funny guy, and he would like, y se ganó a mi mamá. Se la ganó. More than because my dad isn't hard to win over, but my mom is. Y se la ganó. Pero a la vez, la confianza was there, where my mom felt like she could tell him, like, óyame, why is Daniela out there doing this if you're a man and you should be doing that? Or one day we were at his mom's house and we were talking about bills and things, and his mom and my mom didn't know that we 50-50 on expenses. And they both flipped. My mom literally said, if you're not paying the bills, you're not a man. And that hurt his feelings, obviously. Out of pride, he was like, now I'm paying all the bills. Not out of like, you know what, like, I'm financially able to, because we had separate accounts always. He's like, I'm going to pay all the bills. He paid all the utilities and the rent. And then Natalia started school at 3, so then yo me eché la tuition. Oh, él me dijo, I don't use cable and internet, so if you want cable and internet, you gotta pay for it. So then I was paying for cable and internet. Eventually, he's like, let's get a truck. And then so I took on like water and electricity. But obviously, he took the big bill, which was the mortgage. So I have always witnessed that of an overstepping suegra towards other people, but like not towards me. And I've had conversations with my mom where I'm like, you need to step back a little, relax, let them have their relationship. And I didn't do that in my relationship.
I was going to ask that. In your next relationship, are you going to have any conversations?
And I think yo era la que le decía everything to my parents. So my parents knew everything. And I don't think that that's healthy. I think that there's stuff that happens between couples that needs to stay between the couple. I would escape to my parents' house a lot. If we got in a fight, I would either just go spend the day at their house or even sleep over. There's times I would full unpack my and I was like, I'm out, and go to my parents' house. And not that I wish they would have been like, no, mija, like, quédese en su casa, figure it out. Because obviously my parents were not that type of parents, but I feel like it would have helped if I felt like I can't go to my mom and dad's house.
It kind of felt like you were just a sleepover, like a guest at your house versus like you felt like you lived at your parents'.
Yes, and obviously that has an impact in a relationship of me walking out so much and what it does to him. And my dad always tried to help. He was a suegro that was just there. He no se metía. I don't feel like he did. But unless it got like to a point where it was like, hey guys, can we sit down and have a conversation? And he'd tell us like, I can't tell you what to do, but this is my advice and this is what I've noticed. Where my mom would be like, or make a side comment or a low blow, things like that. And they love each other very much. He'll be like, oh, I'm going to go take down your mom's Christmas lights. Tell her to leave me a bucket outside.
But do you think now it's because it's not the pressure de que es tu pareja? Es muy diferente. Ahorita es, quote unquote, he's not that as that, but quote unquote, es para ser como un amigo. Ya no hay la presión de que tienes que tratar a mi hija like a queen. Now it's just like, oh, he's just a friend of the family for right now.
Yeah, and I remember I was looking for a car. Like, I was going to get a new vehicle. And I went to look at Toyota. And his mom was struggling with her truck. It kept like breaking down. And we're there looking for a car for me. And then he sees the Camry and he's like, oh, you know what? I think that I should tell my mom to get it and I'll help her pay for half of it, like monthly. And I think it was like 200, so he was going to pay 100, something like that. Me prendió like, because I was, in my mind, I was like, if she's not invested in my family, like, why does my family have to take money out of our pocket to give to her? Especially because, in my opinion, I didn't feel like she needed it. Whether she did or she didn't is none of my business. And I felt like I would ask him, can we take Natalia to Disneyland? And he'd be like, no hay dinero. So I did something really foul. And I went to her house. And I said, your son said this, and he's planning to do this. If you take that money, I'm leaving his ass. And she was like, I wasn't disrespectful, but that conversation is disrespectful.
Yes, but I think as a friend, I need to tell you, you're wrong.
Yes.
And you were wrong because ella todavía ni sabía. A ella, like,
absolutely.
Punto y aparte, that's when, a chingazos, si te querías agarrar con el Gustavo, that to say, like, listen.
And I did, before I talked to her. And
but I still had more in me.
I told her, mire, like, I want to go to Disneyland y no hay dinero. Yo quiero comprarle algo a la niña, no hay dinero. Yo quiero... No hay dinero for anything that I want. I said, but your son is out here trying to buy boats. And he's out here trying to buy you a car. Ella, bien respectful, me dijo, jamás le he pedido al Gustavo y no le voy a aceptar dinero. Yo no necesito que me ayude. Cuando yo necesite comprar un carro, yo lo voy a comprar. And she goes like, and I'm going to tell him to take you to Disneyland. And I was like, oh my God, what an asshole.
You're like putting your weapons back. You're like, okay.
My bad. And obviously, I always feel bad about that. So I took a step I shouldn't have. And,
Do you think you did it because it was normal de que cuando ya hay confianza o ya hay algo, ya puedes y vas y dices?
Maybe porque no le grité ni me comporté grosera in the way of diciendo cosas feas. You know, I knew the conversation shouldn't have happened. But la señora was just kind of like, no te preocupes. Like, we're good. It's fine. And I remember having a conversation with my dad after where I was like, I did this. And my dad's like, you shouldn't have done that. He's like, I don't care, me dijo, what you think of her as a parent or a grandparent. If Gustavo has the ability to help his mom and the desire to help his mom, let him.
No, insert Denise. Because that's when it's a problem to me. When you're taking from my family and my family is cutting budgets, but there's enough money for you. No. Si se está muriendo de hambre, claro. I completely understand, and I've talked about it with my cousins. Obviously, our parents are going to need to, at some point, are going to get old, and they're going to need help. Mm-hmm. I understand that if one day I have to take in my suegros, because it's going to be, and it's going to be non-negotiable when it's my parents. Mm-hmm. When it's your parents, no voy a decir nada tampoco. Mm-hmm. Pero, ahorita, if you're taking away something from me, my kids, my family, that it's like, oh, it's because we're not going to go out to eat because we're going to help out, or no.
But it wasn't that there wasn't money, and it wasn't that we were going to get, we weren't going to lack as a family in order to help her. He just wasn't willing. He didn't see the things that I wanted to do.
Regardless if there was no money, you were lacking because you didn't get to get those things.
Yeah.
And you're giving that to her.
Sí, pero el problema no es ella, es él.
No, claro.
Yeah.
Sí,
That's
claro.
what I'm trying to come to.
You're like, I'm trying to clear the air, but I still feel like you're taking from me because then if you would have had those extra $100, you'd be like, oh, okay, let's go out to eat this week.
Save or whatever.
But I just think there is a time, of course, cuando sea algo de salud, cuando sea algo like, hey, they're homeless, of course, those types of things, claro. Pero ya tú tienes familia, es punto y aparte. You have a new priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, pause. No, because that also would be a conversation. It's different de decir, ¿sabes qué? Somos una pareja. You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about this. Sí. What do you think?
Sí.
Claro, pero cuando tú me estás diciendo, no tenemos dinero para esto, no tenemos... Y cuando digo no tenemos es because... And it's not a conversation. It's just you saying, I'm going to get pissed off. Because at this point, you're putting her above me. Mm-hmm. Y creo que ahí es donde están todos los problemas con las suegras. Porque... Siento que como cuando tú sientes que they have a priority over you, then stay with your mom. Stay with your mom. Create a life with her. Hazte una vida con ella. Pero no busques una esposa. No busques una pareja. Because you're still going to put her above the pareja.
Because your mom is your mom and you gotta respect her. But the moment that you take on a family... your mom becomes a second, if not third priority to your wife and your kids. My dad always told us, you become a family, porque yo siempre era like my mom and dad first. And my dad was like, no, you have... Mi papá siempre decía a husband. You have a husband. He comes first. Like, your mom and I have become second. And it's now you guys, and now you have a daughter. Then my dad was, in my eyes, the ideal suegro. My mom...
Dude, for me, it's vice versa. There's no one that has beef with my mom. And, like, my dad is like, we got beef with each other.
Well, I think Gustavo would have a different take on this. Natalia was about a month, and we just were fighting. We just weren't going good. He calls my dad. I think he saw it was escalating to a point where we were going to get physical, and he was like, come get your daughter. And my dad was kind of like, okay, are you sure? What's going on? He basically told my dad, I don't want her anymore. Take her. I don't want to be with her. I want her to leave. Lo peor de lo peor. Imagine my dad like una noche recibiendo, like your daughter acaba de parir, and the man is calling you, telling you, take your daughter. I don't want her. I don't love her anymore. I don't want to be with her. That was a marking point in which my dad changed. He said, you never want to get a call where they're telling you that about your daughter. And I've always told Gustavo, you're not going to understand why my dad took that so personal until the day your daughter grows up. and you're going through it. Because I hope, obviously, Natalia never goes through anything like that. However, she's going to have a relationship and she's going to get her heart broken.
And it's way different to say the day she's heartbroken because things didn't work out. But como decir, como si not, pero como se siente alguien, yo me presenté como una basura, como un estorbo. Ven a recogerla, like, armarte, like, I'm disposable.
Yeah. Fue lo que me dijo mi papá, mi hijita, ten some dignidad. Aunque he doesn't, if he means it or not, if he said it, grab your and come home. So then I move out after when that happened. I'm at my parents' house. Y aquí viene el hombre tratando de convencerme, like, I'm sorry, let's get back together. I didn't mean it, blah, blah, blah. My dad catches wind of it and calls him. Didn't you call me to come get my daughter? Didn't you say? He said, I want you to leave my daughter alone. I don't care if you love each other. You called me and you told me que no se quería ir to come get her. You don't love her no more. What are you doing? Why are you calling her? And Gustavo, like, being prideful, like, your dad shouldn't step in, your dad shouldn't. And I was like, you brought him in. And I've tried to have that conversation with him so many times, and he's to this day doesn't get it.
Call him right now.
Because maybe 3 weeks ago, we were on our way to dinner together, Natalia, he and I, and we picked her up from my parents' house. And my dad, like, does one of these, and my mom, and he's like, como si nunca nada hubiera pasado. And I was like, he is a person who has worked to get over that and accepted that more than anything, you're Natalia's dad, and he has to have peace. And I told my dad, you having peace with Gustavo is one less problem for me. But you have to understand that you are being so hard on my dad for what he did, but you're not thinking of what made my dad say those things to you.
And it took a little bit for you to see. She'll eventually see it.
And I don't have sons either, so I don't know how I would be. I thought about that. How would I be as a suegra?
Do you want to be different? Do you want to be the same?
I want to be involved and loving and caring, but also giving them their space, giving her space to have her family. Not like
like a Mexican suegra. Es que las Mexicans son las
super
tóxicas.
involved. Super involved.
I think you're sugarcoating involved. I've had good suegras, whether they're official or not. I've had crazy, and you know the crazy one. And then I've had the ones that I just wish. My tía gave me an advice about her suegra one time. Le dije, oh, no ha sido, no sé qué. She's like, ¿sabes qué? No, dijo, yo voy, like, de vez en cuando tienen fiestas. She's like, I don't agree with her so much. I don't see eye to eye, dijo, y no quiero verla más de lo que tengo, and to, like, cada que la vea que diga, ay, qué hueva, tengo que verla. So, nomás así, cordial, like, ¿cómo ha estado? Bien, ok, punto y aparte. Pero I think cuando son más involucradas, y cuando digo involucradas es que se meten cuando no se les invita, es cuando hay más problemas. Y creo que ellas vayan en ver que ya tienen su propia familia. Betty's grandma was the absolute, like, best. She was the sweetest lady hasta la fecha. She's like super sweet, but 100% had to do that. She doesn't get involved. That if you told her, I have an issue, and she's like, okay, but she's not like, me habló la Denise, que está pasando esto, que está pasando lo otro. No, she'll talk to so-and-so, and then, yeah, punto y aparte, but she respects a lot everybody as an adult. And I think suegras fail to see that their kids are adults. I feel suegras don't want, it hurts to know that your kids are older, but they lose that they're still a child. It's your son, but he no longer is a child. He is responsible for his own decisions. He now has a family. Yeah. Treat him as an adult. Y ella eso tenía muy bien, que respetaba mucho y siempre hubo mucho respeto. Ambos nos respetábamos mucho. Y hasta la fecha, like, cuando va a ver o cuando vamos nosotros para México, mi hija, te voy a hacer pan, te voy a hacer esto, pero nunca ha de decir, ¿y por qué mi hija no mira a su papá tanto? Like, nunca se ha metido, pero porque ella también es consciente de quién es su hijo. Y también es consciente de, like, que cada quien es adulto, ¿me entiendes? And then Mateo's grandma, obviously, no, like, psychologically crazy. Yeah. No, and he told me one time, he's like, you don't understand what it's like to have a crazy mom. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and she's fucking crazy. No, like, in her head, like, she had so many scenarios. Like, I wonder where she's gonna end up in, like, life. But
And I feel like some of those people are such manipulators. They're the best at
She was the
making it
best.
seem like it isn't how it is. It makes you feel crazy. Or, did I say that? Did I do that?
Dude, she stalked the house. After everything, she stalked the house. I remember one time we were going to Fry's and she was there. Like, the house is short. She lives so far from me. But esa sí está loca de lo demás. O sea, ya.
Cruz, que se
Ajá.
vaya el diablo y
Sí,
venga
sí,
el niño
sí, sí.
Jesús.
Ahorita se está quemando la pobre señora. And
Ha de estar así.
I've also had suegras that wanted them to be my suegras, pero nomás era más cariño con, like, their hijos, que nunca se hizo nada. Era nomás, like, te quiero como un hermano. But that lady, I remember, was the sweetest.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she was the sweetest. But I think my biggest issue with my current suegra has been, whether they want to admit it or not, Luis is the favorite. And I think it has a lot to do that they didn't get to enjoy him as much as all the other kids because he came so young.
Yeah.
And I feel like they want to be involved because they missed out on so much, but that sometimes she misses her place. Like, you need to understand your place. It can be very overwhelming.
Sí, sí.
And that's where I'm just kind of like, I feel like mejor que punto y aparte. I don't want it to be anything more than it is. I don't want to ever get into an argument or have any sort of beef. But I just think, like, it's best to see each other when we need to see each other, and when we don't need to see each other, not to see each other.
Have you had that conversation with Luis about how you feel? And then, does he agree? Has he noticed? Or does he think like,
Yes. So we've had it a few times. At first, it was, that's just like how she is, blah, 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 blah. And then she did overstep her boundaries probably 2 years ago. And that's when I was like, listen, this isn't, like, ya, punto y aparte para mí. Sí. And he's like, I get it. He's like, I'm not going to force you to have a relationship. And I said also, I'm not going to force you to not see them. I understand it's your parents. So if you want to go see them, you can go see them. I don't have to go see them. But lo que sí le dije, that time that she overstepped her boundary, he didn't say anything. So then I carried that for a long time, como corajito.
He didn't maybe say something in private?
No,
he just didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything, period. Y so yo traía mucho coraje, but the coraje wasn't from, like, mira, me molestaste por A, B, C. It was more like, pues es que tú, o sea, unhealthy. And then finally we had a conversation and I said, this is what it made me feel. It made me feel that when she overstepped her boundary y tú no dijiste algo, pareja, tú me tienes que dar mi lugar también. No te estoy diciendo que la mandes a chingar a su madre, no le estoy diciendo que le faltes el respeto, pero tú tenías que darme mi lugar and say you overstepped a boundary with our family, porque ya eres punto y aparte. And if you don't make that clear, it's going to continue to happen. And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to speak with her. I didn't follow up. I don't care to follow up. I think if it were to happen again, no dije nada in response of her crossing the boundary por respeto a Luis.
Sí.
Because I didn't want him to be in that position. But I think if it does happen again, a los dos, like, they're going to hear my mind. Pero I just think que ella a lo mejor no puede dejar de ver que... Y le dicen el niño. Like, ya llegó el niño, ¿verdad? So, en su mente es eso. Y it's like, ay, Luis, ya llegó mi bebecito, el rey del mundo, ¿verdad? El que creó paz, the one that solved world hunger.
Again, no one's going to take care of him the way
No
mommy takes
one.
care of him.
And I remember I talked to Laura about it one time. She would say things like, oh, it's because he just worries about me. And he's like, did you do this? And he's just always worried. And I'm like, I was right there. He didn't say that. Or it's very exaggerated of what he says. And I'm like, I was there. Or I'm like, hey, this is before she crossed the boundary. I was like, hey, have you talked to your mom? Well, you should reach out to her. And then he would call. She's like, he always calls me because he's the best son in the world. And I'm like, he's the best son in the world because I told him to call you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I told Laura and I was like, I just don't get it. It kind of felt like it was like one-upping. Like, at some point, it was like, if I said, oh, qué bonito, mira, like, lo que me agarró Luis. And she's like, yeah, he's always gotten me really nice things too. ¿Verdad? So, entonces,
competencia.
sí, y le dije yo a ella, no entiendo, pero no entiendo porque a mí no me fueran a hacer. Y ya es cuando me dijo, en veces lo que pasa con las mujeres, con sus hijos, que si ellas no están completamente, ¿cómo se dice? Satisfechas con amor que les da la pareja. Yo no estoy diciendo que no, ¿verdad? Pero ella es lo que me dijo, dice, o con ellas mismas lo necesitan de parte de sus hijos y nunca pueden hacer ya punto y aparte.
Yeah. Feel it some other way.
Y yo creo que es lo que pasó ahí. Ahí se me hace que es donde, no creo que es más de lo que he batallado. Se me hace que batallé más con la abuela de Mateo, pero no se me hace que batallé tanto because Mateo's dad was like exiting out, like he extra out of his life. And I was like, listen, the is crazy. But if you want a relationship, build a relationship.
Yeah.
But I think this one is just more, I don't think she understands her boundaries. And she says she does.
Or maybe she doesn't mean bad harm the way the other.
Yeah, I think she's just fulfilling herself though. I don't think she means harm. I don't think she also sees it because she says, she's like, see, like I give everybody their space. And I'm like, but you don't, you know? And I know my dad is probably the worst suegro you can meet in the world, but my mom is a really good suegra. Si yo voy y le digo un problema, let's say que le diga, ay, es que me agarré con Luis porque me dijo que me fuera a chingar a mi madre, que yo me la devolví, bla, bla. She's more like, ella no le agarra coraje a Luis. And she's more like, Denise, es que tú también te pasaste, so maybe talk to him, or that is wrong. Pero no, cuando va a ver a Luis, no, cuando va a ver a Luis, ya lo saluda bien, ¿verdad? Si fuera a ser esa la situación. Pero, y es muy como de que es su vida, es su decisión. También como con los hijos, si yo le digo, Mateo no puede hacer esto, que el otro, y dice, ok, tenemos que respetar, que no se puede con esto, con el otro. So, mi mamá es muy buena suegra, and I think I'm doing what you did, the comparing, like, esto es una buena suegra, porque nos da nuestro espacio, hay apoyo. Cuando pasó todo el accidente, she's like, con lo que ocupen, ya sea financially, sea like, con cuidar, sea con rights, con lo que sea, tienen mi apoyo, pero nunca fue de meter su cuchara. Nunca fue de que, pues, están haciendo esto mal, que no. Jamás. Ya somos punto y aparte.
Sí.
Y a cambio acá, como no hay ese punto y aparte, es donde I have the more corajito. Not coraje, just like...
It's uncomfortable sometimes.
Sí.
Because people cross the line.
And últimamente, I think the only person that can probably say is that my mom wasn't the best suegra was Mateo's dad. Because once we separated, FYI, he left me. And he called my... And he, once we separated, would call my parents to blow up on them of things that I was doing. Y me acuerdo que my dad blocked him, and then my mom, creo que le habló a mi mamá llorando un día, like llorando, y Denise escuchaba como... Y mi mamá nunca me dijo, para no causar más problemas, ¿verdad? Ya me dijo, ya después dijo, me habló llorando como un niño, dijo, al punto que no le entendía. Y me dice, que es que usted no le dice nada a la Denise, que la Denise esto, que la Denise lo otro. Y no estoy diciendo que fui la perita en dulce, pero él me hacía más mal, y él por joderme, ¿verdad? Él lo hacía a propósito, y quería como que me afectara, ¿verdad? Pero punto. Y mi mamá que le dijo, últimamente tienes que entender que yo soy la mamá de Denise. Por más mal que haga, soy la mamá de Denise, and I'm going to be on her side. And he got upset and told her to fuck off. My mom then blocked him, y ella dijo, like, punto y aparte también, like, y ella le dijo, busca a tu mamá, because he didn't have a relationship with his mom. She said, busca a tu mamá. You're her son. She's never going to say no. No matter what's gone through, look for your mom. So I think he's the only one that could say anything negative about my mom, but because no le dio por su lado. Pero I think uno también tiene que ver de que las suegras últimamente siempre son las mamás del otro. Que I think there's an unhealthy one where it's like, mi niño no puede hacer mal. Él es un santo porque es mi hijo, ¿verdad? Pero a veces también nos da coraje, because it's like, ¿por qué no le dice que está haciendo mal? Pero
my dad was always very much like, me decía mis verdades, así como se las pudo haber dicho a él. My mom, I think, was harder on him than me, porque nunca me decía, ponte a cocinar. ¿Cómo que no le estás haciendo comida hecha en casa al Gustavo?
No pensé en eso.
She holds me to a clean house.
No, sí, pero nunca pensé en eso.
She didn't have that standard for me. Because as a mom, no me puede decir nada. como pareja tampoco, pero as like a homemaker, que dije, try a new dish once a week. Algo like that.
O ven y te enseño.
Pero si mis cuñadas, they weren't like to make food or they don't like it or whatever, my mom would be like, ay, una mujer no es mujer si no hace esto, si no hace aquello. And te digo que a veces where I've had to say, your daughter, mom, your daughter. And, I think about how mi suegra never, ever spoke bad to me or about me that I know of. Una vez
desaprovechaste una buena suegra y todavía te le lanzaste. No,
¿qué crees que hiciera? Ni modo que sea mi suegra sin el vato. Like, I can deal with her, I can't. This is the problem. Like, yo nunca sentí que la señora raised him bad. I didn't feel that way. So I felt like, a lo mejor, if I felt like it was her fault that he was who he was, maybe it would have been a different. I felt like she tried her best. One time she made a comment to me that really irked me, and I never talked to her about it. Natalia estaba chiquita, and we were in her kitchen, and she's sitting across from me. Y la niña smiled, and she's like, she has a dimple. Where'd she get that from? And I'm like, I don't know.
With a big old smile and your dimple showing.
I don't know. Y me sentí, yo en mi trauma, en mi pedo, en mi cabeza, me sentí ofendida de que, like, how dare she not know I have a dimple?
Yeah.
And that I give it to my daughter. Like, I was always in a defensive mode. I always took everything, like, super personal. And I had that conversation with Laura today where because I was telling her about something that happened at work, and she's like, how'd you feel? And I was like, I don't care. And she's like, you're not taking it personally, more like, good, like this and that. And I've been working really hard at stopping myself. Whoa, like, this is their perception.
¿Por qué crees que tú tomabas las cosas personal con ella? ¿O por qué crees que sentías como poquito? ¿Por qué te sentías más a la defensiva con ella?
Because of my mom. Because I always felt like...
Again, the comparison.
The things my mom would say to me, I always grew up así. Uh-huh. Because she was going to have some bad comment. Siempre tengo que, like, estar ready.
Si te enchanclabas, decía Luis, te ponen la chancla antes de espinarte.
Dijo mi papá, das el manotazo antes de que te lo den a ti. And I took that, who I was with everyone. So, la señora me dijo algo. Like, I'm her mom, no one's going to know her how I know her. But...
Porque también todas las suegras son como, ay, se parece tanto a mi hijo, igualito. Y así se miraba cuando nació mi hijo. Ay, igualito. Mira, hasta los mismos gestos. En like, señora, no solo con su sperm hace un chamaco, ocupa mi ovario, ocupa mi huevo, ocupa like, mi horno, ocupa todo. Señora, pláquese. Así son todas. Y puedo entender, porque sé que sé que viene de un lugar de amor, where it's like, se parece tanto a mi hijo because they're in love with their kid, right? Pero es donde vuelvo como que no saben separar, que it's like, es una familia, es una unión ya. Usted, like, it's not about you and your kid anymore. It's about their kid. Does that make sense? It's very like, my son, his son, they look the same because we're all one. And it's like, no, it's now... their union, but sí, like, se parece mucho, ¿verdad?
I literally told my mom, if you could remove my name from the birth certificate and then la Natalia and put yourself in, you would. Because she believes, like, her grandkids are her kids. And it's hard, and I think...
It's also hard for parenting.
Yeah, very hard.
Because...
very
You're like, ¿quién eres tú para meterte a mi casa a decirme what's hard and what's not hard?
And Natalia, and the kids pick up on that, because Natalia, when she goes to complain to my mom and dad, she's not, because she calls them Tito and Tita. She doesn't say, hey, Tito, mi mamá this and that. He'll be like, tu hija no me deja jugar en mi teléfono. So she knows the dynamic of, like, aquí yo mando porque yo soy tu mamá. So then when I'm at my parents' house, she thinks, like, ellos mandan because they're my parents. And I'm like, but I'm an adult, so...
Te chingaste.
Ma'am.
Have you ever experienced suegras involving themselves into parenting? And that you needed to stop that?
No. My suegras involved in how I parent Natalia, jamás. No, I mean, I only have one daughter, and her grandma has never told me, you should do it like this, or you should do that, or you should do the otro. Never made me feel like she knew better how to parent my kid than I did, or that she ever told me, like, oh, con el junior, like, yo lo hice así o yo lo hice así. Like, jamás. She just let me do my thing.
You fumbled that bag so
I did.
bad.
I mean, come on. Like, it comes with the sun.
I'm like, go get her back. Es que, no, y eso es muy común de que las suegras otra vez metan su cuchara y de decir, y yo, like, completamente cualquier persona, si viene con una buena intención de darme guianza en algo, de decir, ¿sabes qué? Lo que me ayuda a mí fue esto. De que tú vengas a decirme, así no lo deberías de hacer, es muy diferente, porque now you're judging. You're not coming with good intentions. But if you say, have you tried this? This worked for me. Cool. Pero tengo una amiga que sí, que la suegra, ella vivió con la suegra por mucho tiempo. So, right then and there, como que no hay tanto control sobre tus hijos porque vives con la suegra. Sí. Y el esposo no estaba. El esposo estaba viviendo en otro lado. Entonces, se separó del esposo. Todavía tuvo una buena relación con ellos, which, fine.
Yeah.
And se separó ahora del esposo y duró un ratito pues bien con la suegra, con el suegro, todavía visitando, bienvenida. Pero como todo natural, al punto que ya vaya a llegar que ella le diga así no o así sí, y ya que ella doesn't obey their wants or their wishes, that happened. And there was a tusk. And she was so overbearing, and like I saw the messages. She was very like, I don't understand you as a mother. As a mom, like, why would you do this? Why would you do that? Do this instead. And I was like, who does that? And I understand that you want the best for your grandkids. Pero usted ya es punto y aparte. Usted puede dar su opinión.
Yeah,
¿Te parece
opinion
esto?
And that's it.
Y ya, puedes
hacer
hacer esto. Pues, ajá. And the relationship has not been the same since because she is not happy with like how she decided. And she did nothing crazy. Like, I would say, listen, it's que si te estás pasando.
Sí, sí.
Something totally normal.
What about the relationship of, like, your exes with your parents after you guys separated? Like, I know for me, I would get really upset that my mom was cool with him. Mm-hmm. I would be like, he hurt me. You know the things he did to me, and yet you're making him a cake? I took that as, like, my mom was...
On his side.
On his side, I would tell her, do you not realize the pain he put me through? Because I would think, like, si alguien hiciera eso a Natalia, how would I treat them? And, like... But, again, I think my mom was just trying to keep the peace. And at the same time, she saw, like, well, you guys are cool. You guys are getting along. Why can't I make him a cake? And I was like, because you're my mom.
Because you're
He doesn't get those privileges if he's not in this family. But...
I can see that 100%. It didn't happen with my parents, but it happened with a few family members after we separated, that they were still very cool, and that they knew how much Mateo's dad deliberately tried to fuck me over and how much he tried to ruin my day every day, no matter what. And the fact that they were still like, hey, what's up, bro? And I'm like, you knew that he hit me like so low, and when I was on the floor, he was still kicking me, and you're still okay with that? That's not suegras, but I would feel the same way if it was my parents. Yeah. I am totally okay with keeping the peace, and I think I would too, even though they did my daughter dirty if there's kids involved. Because it's like, sabes que si te metes mucho, like, no te van a dejar ver la niña, el niño, X. He was so petty that with the babysitter, he's like, your mom's not allowed to pick up Mateo. And I was like, why not? She's picking up for me. Because I'm going to get out of work an hour later, so she can go pick him up, and I'll go nope, your mom's not. I'm like, who's to stop you? The babysitter was like, ta pendejo, toma, ven a recogerlo, yeah. And then, when the roles were reversed, I remember that one time he texted me, and he's like, hey, I'm going to be, and he would only want me to pick him up. He was so petty. Yeah. And I remember one time, he's like, I'm running late from work, and I had Mateo. And he's like, I'm going to be late. And I was like, that's fine. If you want to send your mom or Monica, I was like, you're more than welcome to send, or Daisy, his second girlfriend. I was like, you're more than welcome to send them over here and they can pick them up. Dicho y eso, van la mamá recoge. Like, I don't care. Yeah. But he, I think, did see very like, I don't get to have her benefits. You don't get to have her benefits. But she's my mom. Like, make it make sense.
Yeah. I did go through the whole, like, he would dispose of my mom's time, like, after we separate. Oh, can your mom pick her up? Or can it's like, she used to help. I mean, she still does, but, like, because we were together, but we're not together anymore. If you can't, it's your job to find who's going to take care of her. Pero mi mamá me hizo ver of like, I don't mind, que mejor que esté conmigo a que esté with whoever he's gonna leave her. No me importa el día, la hora, el lugar, like, I'm available.
Pero te da corajito porque vuelvo a lo mismo.
Porque we have to figure it out. When my parents are out of town on a day where like I need them to pick her up, it was either one of my brothers or my best friend Raquel, but you don't see me calling
Him
or his mom or his
uncle or his tía.
Like, come get her, come pick her up. And those were like little things, and like yo me acuerdo que nunca le pedí a la señora que cuidara a Natalia jamás, pero un día I did. And she told me she was busy, she was taking her son to the dentist. Her son was like a teenager. It's not like she had to sit there and hold him. I was like, and Natalia's always been so behaved that she could have, I put it in myself, like, what would I have done? I would have sat in the lobby with the, with Natalia and then el niño que pase. Pero again, who am I to say what her needs with her son are, or if how to the extent of what she needed to be involved? And I took that very personal of like, nunca te pido ayuda, y la vez que te necesité, te pedí ayuda y me dijiste que no por algo que yo pensé era insignificante or whatever. So again, I was just looking at it from my side. And it was little things like that that I think that weren't that big of a deal, but that I took it very personal, and I was very like enojada at the time with her about it. But yeah, después like I look back and I'm like, it wasn't that bad.
Eso sí me puede dar corajito.
Yeah.
Para dar más corajito, si era una suegra que siempre andaba con su cuchara, que siempre andaba dando opiniones, que siempre didn't understand boundaries, and then when I ask you for help, you're not available, I'd be more mad.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I met his mom before we became boyfriend and girlfriend. I went to his house. I go to the fridge, and she has a picture of his ex on the fridge. So I was like, no somos novios, I'm not going to say anything. I get it. So then, pasan meses, ya somos novios. Ah, espérate, ese día que la conocí, estamos así, yo, él, la señora y el papá de la señora. I had brought a cake, and we're eating, and I had sent Gustavo my official like invite to go to my graduation. And estoy ahí, hola señora, me llamo Elsa, blah, blah, blah. Oh, tú eres la que mandó la invitación. Porque it didn't have a picture, it just had my name. And I was like, sí, fui yo. Y dijo, ok, es que tiene tantas amigas. And I swear to you that I was like, eventually we become boyfriend and girlfriend. The picture's still there. To a point where I was just like, I understand it's her house and I don't want to impose things in her house, but I do feel it's a little disrespectful because my mom wouldn't do that to you. My mom would not have even though she loved Alex, she wouldn't have kept a picture of Alex in the fridge. Like, my family was really good at, they never said, oh, ay, el Alex esto.
Sí,
o el Alex, jamás. So he told her. And then it was silly because that picture came down and a picture of me went up in the same spot of my ASU. Because la muchacha, I think it was a picture where she had graduated from high school. I can't remember. And then
that's so
my
nice.
Picture goes up. I was like, at least mine is a bachelor's picture. Just kidding. And it felt kind of silly. I don't want him to put a picture of me, but I just felt it was disrespectful.
Well, Bere's grandma has pictures of me in her house.
But you're...
Yes. So that's where I'm like, I think it's different. And I think the lady's like 100% not petty, like, and she's super just like, it's the family. She's like, nunca, she's like, tú y yo siempre te voy a querer.
See, that's different.
So I think, and I'm trying to put myself in the new wife's position, if I were to go, it's like, okay, it's a family picture. It's not just a picture of me, like, posing. Andale. That would be totally different.
See, if there's no connection there anymore.
Yeah, y la otra cosa es de que me fuera yo a molestar, que es una ex, que ni tuvieron hijos o algo, y entonces, ¿qué todavía está haciendo ahí? Pero todavía fueron, okay, I get it, you know what, y no me molesto. Fue parte de su vida, todavía, somehow there's a connection with the kid and the mom or whatever, but...
Pero esa señora is friends on Facebook with his exes that he obviously didn't have kids with. And that would bother me at the time.
I don't think I would be bothered because...
I was. At the time, I was.
Would you be bothered today with the new man?
No. Because I know that...
A relationship puede... Tú y yo nos quedamos amigas for our exes and they can't be like, let it go because you guys...
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think like... I think as long as it's nothing overbearing, o que diga, ¿y sabes lo que me platicó la Claudia? Ay, bien bonita, subió una foto, vieras, bien delgada, ya está, se hizo la bibia, entonces señor, ya está metiendo usted. You know?
Yeah.
What do you feel about those suegras? The suegras that are overly affectionate to their ¿cómo se dice? Yernos and nueras. Well, not nueras, it would be just yernos. Like, si tuvieras una mamá que, like, ay, Gustavo, saliste bien cansado del trabajo.
A los dos los sentencia para los dos. No, hell no. Like,
one time, I guess, like, the boyfriend, everyone was staying at their house, and the boyfriend got home drunk, and that he was like, it's because you're really pretty. But no one was there to witness, but she repeated it. And then it happened with somebody else just recently that she was like, oh, it's because we're just going to sleep in the same room. I came to pick him up, but we're going to sleep in the same room. I think it was like separate beds, but same room. But she has always been, not only that it's like too close to comfort, but she has given the red flags. Y no es una mujer guapa, es una mujer fea. So, digo yo, todavía mirará, hay señoras que son guapas que dices, ah, damn, like,
pues I can see it.
Sí, ajá, ¿verdad? Y esta no es, dije, eso es, esta es la resbalosa.
Buscona.
Ajá. Pero siempre es de que se me quedan viendo los novios de mi hija, así bien resbalosa. Ajá. But I think that I would hate to have a mom like that.
Yeah. Oh my God, how embarrassing. If you had to give advice to a suegra as a nuera, what would be your advice?
Que sepan su lugar, que respeten boundaries, que respeten a la familia, que acepten que su hijo es un adulto que puede hacer decisiones por él mismo y para la familia, que no sean petty, que no tomen las cosas personal y que si no es solicitada, que no vaya con su opinión, que no vaya con su presencia, que no vaya con absolutamente nada si no es solicitada. Y entiendo que el amor a lo mejor para su hijo es muy grande, pero así como también el amor de la nuera, de parte de la mamá de ella, es muy grande, our moms don't make it seem like it's just me. Mm-hmm. If I'm invited somewhere, my mom's like, vengan para acá. Sí. Ya le dijiste a Luis. Sí. And I feel like suegras are more like, mi hijo para que vengas. Mm-hmm. Como que todavía no aceptan la realidad de que están casados. Es una pareja. Que es una pareja, que ahora es una unión. Y que ya sepan su lugar, de que dejen hacer la vida. Y así, dude, se las ganan más. Like, van a tener...
Peace everywhere.
Everywhere. Y you're gonna reap, but I truly want peace with my suegra because I don't ever want to be like awkward, and I don't want Luis to feel awkward, and then the day that we have kids or something, I just don't want it to be a weird vibe. But I think it takes two to tango, and I'm tangoing. So what's your advice?
For me, I would from now on only date huérfanos. I'm sorry. No, I would say that I hope when I date someone that the mom knows that I love her son and that I have the best interests and that I'm trying my best to take care of him and do right with him. And if I'm not doing it your way, give me time to show you that I'm trying. And maybe my way is different, but it also works. Give me at least the opportunity to show you what I bring to the table. Let me show you before you try to correct me or change me or tell me así hago las cosas yo. And I think if you want to give me advice in how you say things. And know that you can give me advice. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it. But I'm always here to hear you, like what you got to say. And if it works for me, I'll do it. And if not, you have to respect that. I heard you, but I don't have to do it that way. Mm-hmm. That makes them feel heard, but at the same time, like sets a space of, at the end of the day, it's my home, it's my partner, and we do things our way.
Creo que vuelve a lo mismo, that they can't separate the fact that their son isn't a child anymore. So you're not, for you to Natalia, if someone was to take care of Natalia, this is what Natalia needs to do. You give instructions on how to take care of Natalia. And that's how they do it too. Mm-hmm. This is instruction to take care of my son. Mm-hmm. But your son is an adult and he knocked me up. Mm-hmm. And has his own gustos, yeah. And, you know.
Si sabe hacer hijos.
Mm-hmm. O sea, no.
Tiene que saber hacer todo lo demás and be responsible and let us try our thing, because it's a new home of two people who have different backgrounds now creating their own home. Mm-hmm. So no matter how much you try, it's not going to be like your home or my home, because it's our new home.
Y deja tú eso cuando es la misma cultura. When it's two different cultures, oh my gosh, when there's like biracial couples, that's like even,
because then you get into language barriers.
Yes.
You get into...
And then just cultures, like what you're grown up to be raised as what's correct, religion. What kind of suegra would you want to be?
I hope I can be receptive. I hope that I can pick up on, like, am I bothering them, or if my comments or my presence it's unwanted, that I cannot take it personal and be receptive as, like, okay, like I need to give them their space. I hope that I know how to do that, but that if I don't, that I can be reflective and then not create a problem. That if she tells me, Mom, you need to step back a little bit, or Mom, you said something that hurt his feelings, that I don't take it the wrong way, that I can be like, okay, like let me grow from this, and okay, how can I be better? How can I help?
That breaks my heart. No. I'm gonna be a bad suegra because no, she's my daughter. She's my daughter. He's my son. I guess I want to be a supportive suegra, that I'm here when you guys need me. But I am excited to see their life be made, and for me to see how they raise their kids, how they do their marriage, how their household. So I just want to be supportive, and I'm here when you need me, and but not overstep. And Laura, speed up. That was good advice. I like that.
Yeah.
I like
good
it.
suegras. And if not, we'll hold each other. Acuérdate, en el episodio número 6.
¿Qué chingado me voy a acordar yo? Es que no, pues no sabíamos nada.
Pero no había conocido a esta güey que no le lava los calzones. Mira, trae agujerados.
Pobrecito mi hijo. No.
Well, no. Thank you. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.